Hello and welcome to tonight's Get in Tune. I'm Michael Gracia, and I've got a really fun show tonight. Uh, my guest is someone I've been wanting to chat with for a while now. Um, he does the book. Oh, he's the creator and writer of the book, The Mighty Mascots, which I actually haven't had a chance to read, but I'm such a fan of mascots that I'm dying to read it. So I'm looking forward to finding a copy and uh, starting to collect his books. Let me bring him on. It's Keith Gleason. Hello.
Hey, what's going
How you
on,
doing?
Mike? Good
Everything's
to
going
see you,
good.
man.
You too.
Myself, huge fan of mascots too, if you couldn't tell.
So, let me before we even get started, I'm going to tell you how much of a fan of mascots I am, and I don't know if this is possible to do.
Okay.
And if it is, I got to figure out how to do it.
Okay.
But my dream, since I I've been living on my own since I don't want to say on my own. I've been married since 2008, and
Okay.
when you go food shopping and you're starting out getting married, you wanna save money. So sometimes you don't buy the brand name cereals. You buy those little cheap cereals, right?
Yeah.
And like my dream literally is to create the mascots for those no name cereals, because sometimes they have they don't, most of them don't have mascots.
No, they don't. Or the mascot's really cheesy.
And I'm like dying to, because I love drawing like animal characters and just silly fun cartoons. So my dream is to do that.
I would love to see what you come up with for Apple Dapples. Oh, God.
So we already got a couple of people in the audience. Is that Ara? It's pronounced?
Yeah, Ara. He's a fan of the Mighty Mascots. He's actually a good guy. I see him up here in this area a lot.
Awesome. And he says, and I know he has a little typo, but love Mighty Mascots. Such a great series.
Thanks, Ara, buddy.
Mike Wilkie says, howdy, guys. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
So we got, like I said in the beginning, I have known about your stuff mostly through social media.
Okay.
And I've seen you on shows like this and stuff.
Yeah, we've been on a few.
Yeah, we've been on a few. We've been on with Don Chin, because we both worked on his X Farce Reloaded. So you have a story in there. I wish I can get to my copy easily to show it, but mine is.
I thought I had one here, but I don't.
Yeah, mine's piled under.
I do got the.
Let me see.
There's a lunchbox up here in the background of X Farce. You can see it right at the top there.
Let's see. I'm just seeing, because I got tons and tons of books here. No, these are all the books that I've gotten off of Kickstarter in the last month or two that I still need to read.
Isn't that funny? Like, you just end up backing so much stuff.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's crazy, because I do a show as well. Like, I don't know if you knew that.
No, I know. I was going to talk about that.
We should, you should have you come on sometime too. Once you have a new book, or once that book we were talking about a little bit there in the back. Have you come on and promote that? It'd be awesome, give you a little boost,
I'd be happy to.
Oh, cool. But we were talking about X Farce. Yeah. And Kickstarters. Yeah. But I was saying, like, you meet so many cool creators doing this, and then also at conventions too, I meet so many cool guys and gals, and you just I find that I right now, and I don't know if you do this, but I keep a list. Like, I start writing down, and I start doing the clock thing. Well, if I back this now, I can get this guy before the 30 days is over. And it's like Kickstarter math.
I kind of look through and see who can I have, what's really interesting to me, and and I was looking at my Kickstarter earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I've only been using like backing in the last like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And I would say from when I was looking in the last year since the pandemic all started, I booked backed like 20 Kickstarters. Because it was like, I need stuff to read if I'm not going. Anywhere,
yeah, right.
So I was just backing like crazy. And,
I just
I gotta.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say I got to slow up just a little bit, but
yeah,
it's...
I just got the beautiful Tukey by Jeff Smith, the Volume 1. Did you back that campaign?
No, I didn't back that one.
I'm a big Jeff Smith fan,
Me too.
so I had to get that. So I just read it over the weekend. It was great stuff. So
that's fantastic.
But yeah, I get that. We're me and my wife are constantly doing that too. You know. Yeah,
no, my wife will read. She doesn't back, but she'll read everything I bring home.
Okay, that's good. That's good though. You know, my wife, she'll sometimes surprise me and back stuff that I wasn't expecting. Like I'll go to get something and she'll be like, "Oh, I already backed that." I was like, "All right, cool. I'll back something else." Yeah. So we share, awesome. We swap like little kids back in the day, you know, when they used to swap their comics, you know. So yeah, definitely. She's awesome. She's always with me at shows, and she's an artist in her own right too.
Oh,
so,
cool.
But more of like a she say more as like a traditional artist, like, or was that what you say? One that she does painting and sculpting and things.
People
like
would
that.
refer to that more as a fine artist.
Fine artist, yeah. But she keeps like the little geek angle to it,
that's
so
cool.
Which is great.
Yeah, my wife does a lot more of the crafting type of art, and she's she does the same thing a little bit. Like, let's throw in the geek type of stuff. Or we're both big Disney fans, so you know, she's made some Disney stuff. I don't know. Okay, so hey guys, from Donchin, can I come in this chat if I don't have an amazing ball? You're welcome in. If you're serious, I'll send you the link, Don.
Yeah, Don,
I'll be happy
come on in and join us.
Let me get the link. I'll send it to him.
More the merrier, you know.
Yeah.
See if he'll come in.
I'll send you this through Facebook, Don.
Awesome. Always love talking to Don.
Yeah.
I just finished actually. He hired me on as the letterer for his next project, the Beard Zerker.
Oh yeah, I had him on for that.
Oh, did you really? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I just finished the lettering for all of that this past weekend, so I just sent it all to him. So that book's almost ready to go to press. I think we have like about a handful of pages to color left, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's great. Don, I just saw your comment. You said no, I'm just watching, but thanks. I did send it to you because I was in a different window. But if you want to come in at any time, let me know. I'm happy to have you on. So before we get into talking about like your products and the things you do, I like to always get a little bit background, get your history, like what got you into comics, what got you writing comics, just give me a little bit of your background first, like when
definitely.
did it start for you?
I knew at a really young age that I wanted to be involved with cartoons and comics and everything. When I was, I think I want to say first or second grade, I realized I could draw a little bit. Like I don't do a lot of art on my books nowadays because I have a really cartoony style. Like what I grew up, what attracted me to this whole field, and it all started with comic strips. Like my big thing was Peanuts and Garfield growing up.
Yeah.
And I used to remember being in first grade and second grade, drawing Garfield, drawing Snoopy and Charlie Brown. And I get to the point where I was so good at drawing them, I could just do it without looking at a picture. And then I started taking, like, I don't know if you ever did this, because you're a comic strip guy too, right?
Yeah, I am actually more of a strip artist, I think, than a comic book artist. The way I see myself doing artwork,
Like whenever the only book that I have on my table that's actually drawn by me is a book of comic strips that I used to do. But like, so when I was younger, what I would do is I'd take Garfield or Charlie Brown, and then I would do my own strips with them. They were nowhere near as good as like Schultz or Jim Davis, but like that was like, that kind of got me on the road. And I think ever from that point, I always like, I want to be involved as a cartoonist. And then I discovered comic books probably about, I want to say when I was maybe about 6th or 7th grade. My gateway in was like all the TV tie-in stuffs. Like I think the first book that I got was remember Marvel Comics had like an Indiana Jones comic where they continued the adventures. That was like one of the first books I got. That, and I remember getting a Transformers comic, and then from there I remember picking up Spider-Man, and then the rest was history. I was like, sucked into the whole comic book world, and I actually I went to college for fine arts, actually.
Really?
Yep. Cool. For 3 years, I got an associate's there, and then I actually went to 1 year at the Joe Kubert School after that. Cool. So I was like, I was on my road to really making it a career, and then after Kubert School, I kind of stalled out for a number of years, which, I think happens to some of us, It was like that after college, trying to find a career kind of, time in my life. And then and then eventually just started getting back into it, writing my own comics, drawing my own comic strips again. And then, started tabling and self-publishing, and it's kind of where I am now, I guess. So
hold on one second. I'm just going to remove myself. For some reason my camera went blurry. I'm just going to bring myself. It's still a little blurry. Whatever, it's probably just me. So let me just say hi to Tim Jones out in the
Tim. Hey, Tim.
Tim, great cartoonist.
I saw Tim at Terrificon, actually. It's a great guy.
Yeah, he's another one like you. I've talked with, and I've had him on my show. It's like, but I haven't had a chance to meet him yet, and he's one of those people I'm really like looking forward to meeting.
Yeah, Tim's an awesome guy. Awesome guy.
Where was I gonna go with the my question? But I know before I get on with the question, actually, I wanted to tell you something. You were saying you were drawing your own versions of comics when you were a kid, like Snoopy and Garfield and stuff.
Yeah.
I actually used to sometimes cut them out of the paper and white out their words and try to write my own strips with them, like make up my own story based on whatever the pictures were. So I'd take things like Beetle Bailey and Hagar the Horrible and things I like to try to write.
I'll tell you, that was one of my exercises at the Kubert School. Was that
really?
Yeah, they gave us 4 Calvin and Hobbes strips, and then basically, I know, right? And they basically made us redraw it, but then also, redraw the exact thing that we saw there, but also change the story into something else, And I was like, I remember at the time, because they were really not the exciting Calvin and Hobbes strips. It was like, I remember one of them was just Calvin in a bathtub for 4 panels, and like, I was like, geez, people are going to come up with the same joke. And, out of the 30 kids, they were all the jokes were different, which that's crazy fantastic to me. It was kind of interesting,
Yeah.
So, but that's funny that you did that, because that was like an actual exercise for me at the school.
I did a lot of things that I found out later in life were tools either I would use to teach or people taught me when I was in college with them.
Oh, really?
It was funny because like, my background is in animation.
Okay.
So I don't know what it is. It's the Dogman books or one of those things. A thing called like Flipperama, where it's like you take a page and you draw a picture. I used to do that all the time on animation, where you
like a flip book, right?
But it was only like 2 sheets of paper. So I don't know if I have something on here. I don't know. I can't really use that, but let me grab a sheet of paper real quick. So what I would do is I'd take a sheet of paper as a kid.
Yeah.
And just regular 8.5 by 11, fold it in half.
Okay.
Right. And then I would draw a picture. I'd open up, say, the inside and draw right here.
Okay.
And then I would cover it up and I would trace pieces and change pieces on this one. So I could just go and make a 2, flip. And I would do that all the time. And I use that when I teach animation to kids, and I do a lot of cool things with that. But yeah, no, things like that, the whiteout that you were saying, because I've done that later on.
Yeah. Did you do the when you were speaking of that, did you do the, like, I used to take dictionaries, and then in the margins I would draw stick figures fighting each other, and I would do flip books that way.
Oh, I wouldn't do it that way, but I made flip books constantly.
Yeah,
constantly. When I started probably making flip books when I was about 8 or 9 years old.
Me too. As soon as someone showed me, like, like once it clicked in my mind on that's how animation worked, I was doing it. Every book, I think I still have some books in the other room that have my cartoons on them.
Yeah,
that was fun times.
Yeah, no, it was great. I used to use like regular paper like that and just cut up and try to just staple them together.
Yeah, and try to make like one
and
thing.
make it that way. That's because I have them behind me, but I actually used to collect Disney flip books, so I have something like this here.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if you can see. How would I hold it? Let me see.
Yep,
you can see a little bit.
And they used to have those, like, what do they call them? Little big books that had do you remember those? They had like certain ones of them had like a cartoon up in the upper corner. Some of them didn't, but some of them did, and those were always fun to look at.
Yeah, no, they're great. I love all those types of things.
Yeah.
So getting back to your comics, or well, even before your comics, you said you went to school for art. You did a little Kubert school. You weren't. I mean, before you started writing like comics, you said you did like comic strips, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And what was your comic strip about? And what's it called?
Okay, so the one that I did and I actually still sell at my table is called Swamp Tales.
Okay.
And it started off as like a Garfield ripoff. Like I was drawing all the characters with the big round eyes that Jim Davis does, and so it's basically I've morphed it over the years. The characters have all changed, looks and everything. But it's basically a bunch of swamp creatures that hang out and act like humans, basically. So it's a frog, a beaver, a snake, and a spider, and they all hang out in this swamp and get into crazy adventures, I guess.
Oh my god, I'm gonna have to get a copy from you when I finally see you at a show. That sounds like fun to me.
It's people say I don't think it's quite like Walt Kelly's Pogo or anything like that.
Well, I was gonna say, when you said swamp, the first thing that came to mind was Pogo.
Yeah, like I even got, I think somebody that reviewed it said it was like a Pogo-esque, and I don't really think it's that. It's more. I think it's more modeled after like Peanuts or Garfield, personally, like those that kind of humor,
Yeah.
But it was fun. I often, right now I'm so busy with mascots and other things but I'd love to go back and and just produce like maybe 20 to 30 strips a year and just put them in comic book form like I've been doing. But I just don't have the time right now to focus on it. No, but I'd love to. It's something I could keep going with, whenever I feel like doing more, so.
That sounds great. I look forward to it. I always love seeing that type of stuff. And there are so many people out there that, and I don't want to say it wrong, that don't appreciate strips when they think of the word comics, because the newspaper isn't so read. People aren't buying newspapers, so where are they getting their comics from? So if they're not going to like comics.com or websites, they're not reading like the newspaper strips. So it's hard to find strips.
Right.
And we got a comment from Tim who says, Keith, it's cool. I mean, and if anyone, by the way, I'll just give a shout out to Tim here. His comic Sour Grapes, fantastic strip.
Yeah.
People like him, people like Francis Bonnet, who does why am I blanking on his name? Suburban Fairy Tales. Roger Phillips does the Gray Zone. These are great strips that have a good humor, modern humor with that classic feel of comics. So I love looking at stuff like that.
But like you were saying, it's like sort of a lost art form. You don't see it. Like I haven't looked at a newspaper in years. I mean, there's and you can follow certain ones online, but not all of them. you know, and it's like sometimes you forget. And I love the ones that'll just send you the strips to your Twitter or something. Those are my favorite. So you don't have to go seeking them out, you know. So, but yeah, I know it's one of those things. Unless you really look for it, where are you getting it? And I don't see kids probably aren't looking at a newspaper. And they're probably not even going into a Barnes and Noble and looking in the humor section at all, I would imagine either.
What I will say is I do work with a lot of kids. And the one book, like if they don't get it's either Peanuts, Garfield, or Calvin and Hobbes for them, because those books are so readily available, easy to find. And it's either that their parents love them and collected them and they're passing them down, or they're finding them from their school libraries.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I have seen, people read that. And just speaking of comics in that format, if we go back to the late 90s, early 2000s, when people started drawing comics on the web, that was the format people were using. It wasn't until maybe, 10 years ago, maybe 15, that started changing. And it was more of the page format, like a comic book on the web. And nowadays with things like webtoons, they even have a new format that it's got to be set up for scrolling purposes. And I'm either I want to read a page or I want to read a strip. I don't want to do the scrolling thing. So
yeah, that's the thing. Like with digital, it's like there's something to be said about holding it in your hand, and being able to look at it. How you can either look at the whole page at once, or you know what I mean. I don't know. I just love having the physical, even in comic books too. I'm that way,
Oh yeah, no, I do have some digital stuff, but if I can, it's I prefer the book in my hand.
Same.
Do you remember when you started writing your first comic? What was that? It wasn't Mascots, was it?
No, actually, my first stab at writing a comic book. So after that period after college where I guess took a break from everything. I was working at a comic book store, and I hooked up with a bunch of friends, and I for a short period of time, I got into making films with people.
Oh, cool.
And me and a group of friends, we came up with this I guess it was right when webisodes were becoming a thing on the web, when all the shows were doing go check out the webisodes, remember that period of time when YouTube was just starting? And so we started doing a web show, and we were writing. I was writing a lot of the scripts with another friend of mine, and we would toss ideas back and forth. And I guess that's where I first started doing something as far as writing, taking, putting a whole act together with characters talking and stuff. And then and the show was called Hero Envy. You can still find it out there if you really look for it. It's horrible, and it's horribly un-PC. So I just preface
I will take note of that. I'm gonna make a note right now on my phone. It's called Hero Envy.
And I would say if you watch the later ones. They're a little better, but they are pretty horribly un-PC and R-rated. So
and these are on YouTube?
Yeah, it's basically kind of, I wouldn't say a ripoff of old Kevin Smith stuff, but in that vein, where it's picture Big Bang Theory, but if Big Bang Theory had it was R-rated. That's sort of what we did. So it was a bunch of geeks hanging out in an apartment basically, and we would come up with these crazy adventures, and So, and then what I ended up doing after that, we made about, I don't know, maybe about 30 or less episodes. And we, at that time we had stopped doing it, but I was into the writing side. So I wanted to I was like, why not take these characters and put them in a comic book? So that was the first comic book that I actually sat down and did. We did a mini series, 3 issues. And I mean, I basically learned my chops doing those 3 issues. It took 5 years to get all 3 issues in the can and done. lots of problems, from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
Lost the artist after the first issue, then I had to go find another artist, and just all these things. And like we would go and print issue 1, and then I would go back and I was like find like so many punctuation and grammar errors, and all the first amateur mistakes that you make when you're making a comic book.
Yeah.
But we got it out there. It took like 5 years, and we got the 3 issues out, and from there on, I was hooked. I've done a few other comic series. I have one called Kid Switch that was sort of like in the vein of like a Ben 10 kind of thing.
Okay.
And that one I made 1 issue of, and I'd love to go back to that one because I had that envisioned as a full mini series. But I started working on other things. Another series called Reckless Chronicles that was like an anthology book that I wrote all the stories for. And then one of the stories in my anthology book was Mighty Mascots.
Okay.
And then I knew, like, when I came up with that concept, I was like, I started focusing in more on that because I really thought I had something that was fresh and new. Like, you never seen, like, I had never heard of that strip that we talked about, the Breakfast of the Gods.
Yeah.
And I had never seen like anything with mascots as like characters, like like as the stars or something. Besides their own commercials and things like that, and probably their own comic books, because sometimes they used to have, like I remember Kool-Aid Man had a Marvel miniseries.
Yeah, I remember that. I think I have that issue.
Do you really?
I might.
I can just imagine how bad that is. But anyways, I had never seen anything like that, so I was like, I'm gonna focus in on this. And even that, my artist, changed from the first initial concepts to what it is now at Alterna. But like so I guess I produced maybe about, I would say maybe about 8 or 9 comics before Mascots came along. And then I've been going to shows since conventions since probably around 2005. I think that's when we started the Hero Envy, and we used to go to the Comic Cons, with copies of the DVDs to sell to people. And and then eventually it just morphed into me selling comics by myself, and the other guys went off doing their own thing. And I'm still in touch with a couple of them, but like everyone's kind of doing their own thing now.
Yeah.
So,
that's interesting. And I want to get into more detail on the Mighty Mascots.
Definitely.
And I'll probably, and if I get a chance, I'll pull out some of my old stuff. I'll show you some stuff that I used to do.
I'd love to
because
see it.
we were talking before, I haven't published anything myself since probably 2005, 2006 is the
That's
time.
funny because that's when I kind of started going into it.
I started in 97. But I was doing indie comics basically from 97 up until about 2000. I would say about 2007, 2008. And then my day job had to take over. And then I probably I started coming back in 2012, and things were going on. But anyway, like, I'm coming back, but very soon with stuff. But,
good. It's good to hear.
But I want to get to this question here from Tim, who says, Keith, I'm thinking of doing a short comic book with an Aesop adventure, but I don't even know where to start with the art for it. Any tips?
Any tips? Well, I've seen, I've read Sour Grapes. I would say, Tim, don't try to change the artwork. I mean, if that's what you mean by that, I don't know. You would have to probably sit down and figure out a script for a full comic book, because it's a different beast than like a 3-panel, 2 panels set up and a 3rd panel gag kind of thing. You would probably have to, think along the lines of like a Charlie Brown special, like a half-hour special, and then you write it all out and figure out that storyline. But I wouldn't change the artwork at all. I mean, I would think you would want to draw it, but I don't know what your time is like, so you may need to hire an art. Like I don't know if you have just enough time to do the one strip a week or what, but that's what I would say. Try to keep it as consistent to your own stuff because branding I think is sort of important, so you don't want to change it into like a superhero I don't know, unless you do. I don't know. I don't know if you're gonna make Aesop all jacked and you know what I mean. Like I don't know. I'd have to talk to you at a show about that and see what you were thinking. But that would be my advice.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I think that's great advice. So let's get back to the Mighty Mascots. Now, let me tell you. Like I said, I discovered you through social media. I discovered you on a lot of things, But one of the things I did find was, God, I don't know how long you've been doing Mighty Mascots for now.
It's been, I want to say, I first started it maybe about 5 years ago.
Okay.
The first issue with Alterna came out maybe 3 years ago.
Okay. So it was somewhere in the last 5 years then. I was actually looking to make a comic strip myself.
Okay.
And I thought Mascots because I.
Oh, did you really? Oh,
well,
no.
Like I said, I showed this.
Okay.
I don't know if I showed this. I showed this to you, but I don't know if I showed this on air. This is a book. It's called Meet Mr. Good. Product, and it's just the graphic art of advertising character.
That's and great. Yeah.
The beautiful retro, for the most part, art styles in here, which is what I'm a big fan of, and I draw very similar to. So I was looking up, and I found you, and I found Breakfast of the Gods. Now, Breakfast of the Gods, I actually knew about when they first came out. I was, this was a time. There was another popular strip at the time. I think it was called Holiday Wars, where like the Easter Bunny was against like Santa Claus or whatever. Yeah. It was a weird thing, but it was like all these mythical characters were in the Holiday Wars, and then there was Breakfast of the Gods. And Breakfast of the Gods, being the Mascot fan I am, I had to read it. I never knew how legit and legal it is because he literally used like Captain Crunch and all these guys were in there. But it was this, and the art is pretty good. It's not like perfect, or they don't look exactly like the Mascots, but you know who they are. But I really enjoyed the story, and it's just there's the Snap Crackle Pop makes an appearance, the Cookie Crook, Sugar Smack, and the Sugar Bear. Not Sugar Smack. Sugar Smack was a cereal, right? Dig'em.
Dig'em was the frog,
the character. Yeah, the frog. Quisp is in there.
Nice.
They're like, you name it, they're in there. And then all of a sudden, you get other food characters from companies that isn't cereal coming on in there, and it's just, it's like, wow, this is fantastic. And there was a trade. The guy collected it and sold it as a trade. I don't know if that's available anymore.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look for that. Copy. I'd love to read that because I'd love to see what that guy did because it sounds awesome.
It was a very fun story. So I found you and I found them, and I'm like, and I remembered about Breakfast of the Gods, but I'm like, I wasn't going to do what they're doing.
Yeah,
I was thinking more of a humor strip for me in particular. And then I saw your stuff, and I'm like, I don't know. Do we need another Mascot type of comic strip?
I mean, the humor part hasn't really been covered. I mean, I guess some people have said my stuff, Mighty Mascots, has a little bit of humor to it, and I guess it does. Yeah. But I kind of write it in a serious manner, and I think that's what makes it funny too. Yeah, it's because it's how do you take it seriously? No, I don't know. I could see a humor working. That was the first idea I had for Mighty Mascots anyway, or before it was even called Mighty Mascots. The idea came from my wife bought me a T-shirt. We have stores up here called Ocean State Job Lot. They're like they're kind of like second, kind of like where all the reject products go, I guess one of those kind of stores, like Big Lots or something. But my wife had got me a T-shirt. It was actually really cool. It was a bunch of the cereal mascots hanging out on the shirt, and it said Breakfast Club on it, which I thought was funny. Yeah, and I still got the shirt. And when I was brushing my teeth one day and looking at that shirt, and I was like, oh man, something's here, like I was like,
Yeah.
But I had pictured it as a reality show with all the mascots, stuck in a house together, and then it would be a humor book, you know what I mean? So that's what my first idea was. I think where it turned for me was when I started thinking about what if Captain Crunch was like Batman, and and then that's where it kind of all came together after that, and I started looking at it more as a superhero title, because like on top of my love for like comic strips and Saturday morning cartoons, I really love the superhero comics from like the 70s and 80s, especially Marvel stuff. So I was like, how can I merge all this stuff together? And that's how Mighty Mascots kind of came together. I really used probably like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or even Batman the Animated Series as sort of like a template for what I wanted to do. So I wanted it to be fun, but I also wanted it to be not super serious, but I wanted it to be like a Spider-Man comic from the 80s where a kid could read it and an adult could read it and both enjoy it, I didn't want it to be too kiddie and not too adult. So it was finding that like that tone, kind of like the way the Turtles was when it first came out from Eastman and Laird in the 80s.
Okay, the original comic.
I was trying to go for that kind of tone where it wasn't too dark and it wasn't too light,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's like I was trying to find that balance, and that's what I sort of came up with, and the team of characters is interesting. It's, I don't know if you ever looked at.
I've looked at pictures, and I've been looking at pictures. You know what? I'm gonna pull one up. Just give me a second to.
Yeah. We'll go over it and see how good. See what you think of
Mighty Mascots. I had a picture actually pulled up earlier, and I ended up deleting out of the frame there. So this, I believe, comes from your Twitter or someone's Twitter.
Okay.
And comes from Alterna's Twitter.
Okay.
Share screen. And so we got.
Yep. That's the big splash page in issue 1.
Mm-hmm.
So so right. We could go. So let me see. So
how do you want to go? You want to start with the big bot here?
Okay, so the 3 robots. There's that big one, and then there's the 2 in the background.
Yeah,
they're sort of like the Rice Krispie guys. So their names there are Whack, Smack, and Boom. So they have a very like their whole thing is they're almost like a Voltron type robot when they can form together to form a giant robot called Mega Crunch. So it's like, and I actually, when I was creating these characters, I sat down. I already have all the serials that they were part of and all their taglines created and everything. So these guys were part of Bionic Bites cereal.
Oh, that's great.
The tagline was vitamins, minerals, and taste combined for ultimate satisfaction. So that was just kind of tied the whole thing together,
Love it.
The alien under Boom's foot there is a nod to Quisp.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, and that's my character's name is Mondo the Martian. He was a mascot for a cereal called Star Crunch. And I think the tagline was "Take me to your cereal" or something like that. And then right above him is my version of the Kool-Aid Man, which is Brewster McPunch. He's sort of just an all-around soft drink mascot, basically. And his tagline, he's the mascot for Snap's soda or Snap's fruit drink. And he's sort of like the like the hip annoying character. So I think his tagline is "Aw snap," and and right above him, the human mascot is my nod to Gary Coleman. It's a child. I wanted the human leader to be a child star, a child actor that grew up to become a scientist. So I thought, who was one of the greatest child stars ever? And I thought Gary Coleman. So that's my nod to him. Below him is Captain Horatio Honeyflakes, and his parrot called Sea Rat, which looks a lot like Toucan Sam.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah, it's a mechanical parrot, and then right next to him is Boxer Bear, who's basically a kind of like a Tony the Tiger mixed with like Sugar Bear kind of thing, kind of like the Hulk of the team. Doesn't talk, grunts a lot, and can pop those claws out of his boxing gloves to, fight like Wolverine or something like that.
I love it. The designs themselves are phenomenal.
Yeah.
Did you design the characters, or did you have someone design them for you?
I actually, I had the concepts, but I had an artist bring them to life for me. Do you know Frankie B. Washington?
The name sounds familiar. I don't know him personally, but the name sounds very familiar.
He was the original concept artist on this. Okay. And when I was doing Mighty Mascots as part of my anthology book, he was the artist on the first 2 chapters of it. Okay. And then so the timeline there was, we worked on that together. After I finished the second chapter was when I submitted the book. I started shopping it around to different publishers. I think I sent it to like Image, Dark Horse, a bunch of the small indie labels. And Alterna wasn't even on my radar until they started doing the newsprint comics. When they brought that back and they were trying to get comics back to like $1.50 cover price, I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like, these guys would be awesome to publish with, because besides being about mascots, it was also like, getting that retro feel of having newsprint on the, having your book being published on newsprint. Yeah. So I ended up submitting it to Alterna, and they initially rejected it. But I got a lot of notes on, like, I guess usually they won't even give you notes if it's just something they don't want. But he basically sent me back a critique and said, I like this, this, and this, but I would like to see this, this, and this. And all his notes were all good notes, and all notes I agreed with, because one of the things I was doing story-wise at the beginning, I was doing a focus too much on the human characters and not enough on the mascots, and that's what he wanted to see. I was almost doing like the Michael Bay Transformer movie thing, where it's like, you know what I mean? It's like more about the humans rather than the Transformers, I was doing that, and he was like, you got to reverse this, you got to make these guys are the star, not the humans. And I was like, yeah, you're right. So I basically went back to the drawing board and actually redid all of issue 1. And that's where Frankie kind of jumped off. And then the art that you see in right now on the screen is my new artist and the current artist of Mighty Mascots. And his name is Ian Warianto. I found him actually on Facebook. I went looking for an artist, and I had about 50 people submit to me different art designs, and I really liked his the best. I really liked it looks like cartoonish but anime kind of look, and it's crisp and clean artwork, which I really like. And so I redid all of issue 1 with him, and then I did all the tweaks to the storyline that they wanted to see. Went ahead and submitted it a year later, and then I got the contract to come aboard and do Mighty Mascot. So we initially did the first a mini-series. At the time, Alterna was still with Diamond, and that's I guess the way they were kind of gaming the system, because I don't know if you know how Diamond works, but they it might have changed now that they lost Marvel and DC, but at the beginning you had to meet a certain number of copies to be part of Diamond, like the indie label. And the way Alterna was getting around that was they were doing miniseries. So if you did a miniseries of 3 issues, you would get another huge bump because you had another number 1. You know what I mean? So they were doing like, rather than doing monthly, they did a series of miniseries. So once he pulled out of Diamond, which was right around the first month or 2 of the pandemic, he started selling more direct to people, and then we were allowed to make the book not monthly but ongoing. So like the numbering stays. So instead of doing like another 3-issue miniseries, it's actually going to be 4, 5, and 6 instead. You know, so I really like that. So that's where I'm at. I just finished doing issues 4, 5, and 6. And I'm already starting to write 7, 8, 9 now. And I might do a campaign next summer for those issues to get those printed up and, you know, published. I'm even thinking about, you'll like this, Mike. I'm thinking of doing a Halloween special where they go up against the monster cereals, which I think would be awesome.
That sounds so much fun already.
Oh man, yeah, that's that. So to give you the premise, you know, they're basically, so they are cereal mascots. They're basically living advertisements. The cereal boxes were in so there's an evil laboratory in this city. This is the premise, and there's the Gary Coleman character has a friend that creates a formula that's like sort of like a 3D printing formula that's supposed to be like the greatest 3D printing formula ever. And basically the formula ends up getting splashed onto a bunch of cereal boxes that are in the break room of this evil laboratory, and because of that, all the cereal mascots are brought to life, and they basically become, you know, a force of good against this evil corporation. And the evil corporation has taken the formula and they've tainted it, so anytime they use it on a product or something, the mascot that comes off of that becomes like instantly evil. So it's like sort of like so they're basically fighting evil mascots basically. So that's like the whole premise of the series. And the first 3 issues they go up against, do you remember Yuck Mouth? There used to be these PSAs on Saturday morning cartoons. There was like this character called the Yuck Mouth.
I have to see the picture. It sounds
Let me see if I can find it. It used to play. It might just be a regional thing up here in Massachusetts.
I've watched a lot of for every now and then I'll go on YouTube and I watch a lot of old like commercials and things like that just for fun. So I could turn it around and parody them. So because I don't know, what was it called again? Yuck Mouth?
Yeah, if you pop, I shared my screen.
Okay, hold on. I got to stop my share. Let's say it's a stream. Yuck Mouth.
Yeah.
You know what? That doesn't look familiar to me.
No? Okay. It used to be an animated. Watch it later on YouTube. He's just bragging about eating bad food, basically, and getting cavities and stuff like that.
I love the character, though.
Yeah, isn't that great? So I took that character and kind of did a version of that. And let me stop sharing here. So I did a version of that character as a villain. Yeah. And I kind of combined it. Remember the cavity creeps?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did that, like the cavity creeps, and then I made the Crest Team, which remember those old commercials from the 70s?
Yeah, the guys all white, they all spelled out giant toothbrush.
Yeah, I made those guys evil too. So it was like this whole like dentist kind of like motif, I guess, with the first 3 issues. And then it's nuts. And I'm the 4, 5, and 6 is all video game mascots. So they go up against a group of evil video game guys. And now I'm writing new storyline. I want to bring the Jolly Green Giant into it, and so, I just look through that book, the book that you have, and then I have both copies, and I just get ideas.
This is the first book, I think. There's a second one out, right?
There's a second one, yeah, and they're both great. I scrolled through them. I scroll through those books whenever I need inspiration.
Yeah,
it's so good. But that's sort of what I'm doing. I'm building a whole universe of evil mascots, and I definitely want to bring like some good guys into it too at some point. So, but there's like a never ending supply of mascots out there, so oh, thanks, Don. Appreciate that. So yeah, that's where my focus has been for the last few years, is putting those together and really going to shows and pushing it, pushing it out.
And speaking of shows, you're going to be at any upcoming shows that we can see you at? And
yeah, I gotta go ahead.
No, I was going to say, pick the books up.
Oh yeah, I met a bunch. Most of them are up here in the New England area.
Okay.
But I have a table, I think, at New York Comic Con this year, but I have not, I haven't seen a peep from those guys, so I don't even know if that show's going to happen.
I don't know. I mean, we now have, I don't know when's the official date that we go back to masks full time, but I know I've gotten a few emails about things with masks. I was just at Eternal Con.
How was that? I almost
I was only there. I was only there Saturday. My friend Ramon Gill was doing a panel, and he asked me to be on it. Okay, yeah. So he asked me to be on.
I tabled with Ramon once.
Awesome guy.
Yeah, he is. He's such a good guy.
I just kind of hung out at his table after the panel, and we just kind of sat there. I was there only Sunday, but I heard Saturday they weren't, like going after you for wearing masks, but Sunday it was mandatory. Everybody had a mask on.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
And that was in Long Island, right?
Yeah. It was at Hofstra College.
Okay.
Or university, whatever it is, and but it's a good show. I've done Eternal Con many times before. I've always have a good time at that show. But yeah, I think I don't know what's going to happen, but I think it's definitely going to be a masked event, and I'm just curious about the social distancing, how they're going to handle that. I did get approved for my pro badge. I'm not going to pay for it. I don't want to deal with that with that stuff right now.
Well, the last I heard, and and I think they're keeping it close to the vest in case they have to cancel again. But the last I heard, they weren't gonna. They were playing with the idea of not letting anybody in if they haven't been vaccinated.
Yeah.
And then also wearing masks, which I'd be totally fine with both of those.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm waiting to hear. I paid for the table 2 years ago, and still, you know what I mean? It's supposed to roll over, and I'm hoping it happens, but New York is always one of my favorite shows to do. But
well, if you come down, you let me know. I'll definitely we'll have to meet up or something.
Yeah, definitely. So. And I'm looking to next year, if things open up again, I'd love to do more and more shows. I'm actually looking because I have a day job. I work in the solar panel industry, and it's not a bad job. It's a good company I work for and everything, but I'm looking to maybe next year go to a part-time status there and try to focus more on doing cons and doing comics. I'd love to just do 50-50 and see if I can survive on, just like a part-time paycheck, and try to, but keep that as like a safety net for me. Because we do, me and my wife have a house, and we have, all these financial responsibilities too on top of everything. So I don't want to be too careless, but I do want to, I would love to take a little more risk and do more shows and something, maybe even do more lettering work, because I've been doing that a lot for people, and I don't know, something. We'll see, and try to carve a little, niche for myself out there,
it can be done. I know a lot of people who do things like that, and it's just being away a lot of weekends to do shows.
that's the thing. You know, when my wife is like really like, she'll go to a lot of them with me, but then there'll be some weekends where you can go on without me, you know. But you know, like I did Plattsburgh Comic Con a few years ago, and that's been Plattsburgh, New York, which is a good show. Not really comic based, but we did okay with our prints and stuff. And I did that by myself because she didn't want to go up, and that was totally fine, you know. So I do I'd say 90% my wife comes, so it's just that 10% where it's I'm by myself. So, but no, I have a good time at those. I love going to conventions. I love talking to people, even if they don't buy my book. I just come over and talk to me about Suicide Squad or whatever new movie that's out. You know.
Well, since you said that, did you enjoyed the movie?
Yeah. I thought it was a over the top fun, and I was glad to see DC kind of going in a fun direction, even though it was it's still an R-rated movie, so a kid really couldn't enjoy it. But I thought the tone of it is getting better for DC, I think, with their stuff, you know?
Yeah, I agree on that one. I agree.
But I did enjoy it. I mean, seeing Starro on the big screen was a big kick for me. You know? Got a kick out of that.
Art says it's always seeing you at shows.
It's probably always
great.
Great. I see Ara a lot. He's a big Alterna fan. So
he said that. I forgot to post that.
Yeah, and that's when I met him when Alterna started publishing Mighty Mascots, and then I started seeing him at shows up this neck of the woods. He's just one of those guys. Always comes to the table, always says hi, and I always like seeing him. So it's always good to have those fans, you know.
Yeah, I'm actually looking up something right now.
Uh-oh.
No, it's not bad. I actually have another friend. I don't know if his book is still with Alterna.
Oh, okay.
Robert Geronimo. Do you know his stuff?
Oh, yeah. I know Rob really well.
Yeah, Rob's a good guy.
Rob's still with Alterna, yeah. As far as
I haven't seen him in a couple of years, but actually I haven't talked to him about a year. But we used to do some shows, a lot of the same shows together.
He just texted me the other day about. I guess he's prepping for a new. He does that series Blood Realm for Alterna, and he's prepping a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo.
Indiegogo, I just saw on his Instagram.
Yeah, so he asked me a few questions about how I had done with the variant covers on mine and things like that. So he's one of those guys I met for the first time 2-3 years ago at New York Comic Con, and just a sweet dude, man. I love seeing Rob. He's such a the thing I like about him, he's reminds me of you, Mike. He's just very positive, very
thank you.
Loves the comic industry, loves doing what he does, and I'm attracted to people like that. I love people that are that are happy and and just having a good time with this. So
thank you. I actually I just want to post Don's comment.
Oh yeah, thanks, Don.
Very nice, thanks, Don. I loved working on the book.
Me too. I had such a blast doing that. Like, it's the closest I'll ever come to writing X-Men.
That's how I felt about like drawing Disney characters and Looney Tunes stuff. Like, I'll never draw them for real. So
exactly.
No, but I want to say about Rob's work. Have you ever seen his children's book?
No, I talked to him on one of his YouTube shows. He had me on.
Yeah, he has a.
He was telling me about that, and it sounded pretty awesome.
He's like really inspired by like Little Nemo.
Okay.
So like I'm just looking on the side to see if I can find it, because I have like 3. I think all 3. If you might have done more since last I saw him, but he's got these great looking children's book stuff.
It's so funny because like Blood Realm is like the polar opposite.
I know, totally. Like you see his horror work, and it's like
yeah, I know. It's like you
beautiful
never
stuff.
It is, but you would never think this dude drew a kid's book,
Yeah,
which is funny. But that's awesome. That's what I like about him. He's so down to earth, and he's very meticulous the way he tells a story, which I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So it's good stuff.
I'm sorry, I'm still looking at the Mighty Mascots.
Oh,
let me take them off the page so I don't constantly stare at them. I love their design so much. I
Oh,
really
thank
do.
you.
And
Thank you.
It's great to.
I had did you see let me see, I don't know if I can bring it up here. I had Chris Giarusso who did the mini Marvels for
Yeah, I
Marvel
love. I
Comics.
actually, I'll just show real quick if you can see. I hope the light isn't blocking. Got a Dr. Fate of his.
Oh, very cool. That's
I'm a huge Dr. Fate's like my all-time favorite DC character.
Oh, that's
Anytime
awesome.
I get a commission, it's Dr. Fate. I got a Fred Hembeck up on the wall there.
Oh, I love Fred Hembeck too.
Yeah,
he's so good. He did a cover for me for Mighty Mascot. I'm seeing if I can pull it up from here.
Okay.
It's actually came out really good. Hang on one second. Let me see if I can get this. But yeah, I've known Chris for a few years. We met him through a friend years ago that used to do a podcast called Secret Identity. And
okay, I know the podcast.
You know that podcast?
Yeah.
They introduced us to Chris Giarusso back then, and I've been in touch with him still all this time. And he's such a good dude. And I asked him if he could do a Mighty Mascots cover, and this is the one he came up with for me. This was a variant cover for the last campaign. So if you want to check that out. It's just like
wow.
Isn't that cool? It's like an old school, like
I love it.
Like a cereal box, basically.
Yeah.
Isn't that great? And he did a couple different color schemes. So if I ever wanted to, do, like different posters or something, I could, Very cool.
Yeah. Those totally would work good as prints.
Yeah, wouldn't it? Like,
yeah.
And just maybe like change something over here, or just to make it look, or maybe you could leave it there. I guess I don't know, but yeah, it's really really cool. Cool work. Yeah, he's awesome, man. I love that guy's artwork. And he did my show a few years ago too. We never really got into that too.
I was about to.
Oh, right.
We were getting there. I mean, unless you have to go soon, I could have you back.
No, I could talk for that for a few minutes. Yeah.
So let's go. So it's called Plastic City Comic Con.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about it. How did it start? What you do at the shows and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so the reason I bring it up is because he was like one of the guests for the first year that we did it. But like I was saying, me and my wife would vend tables, probably starting around 2005, up to present time. Around 2012, right when like the first Avengers movie came out, I started noticing like at Comic Cons, we had more fans coming, which was great. Because Avengers was like the hugest movie ever at that time, and we started seeing more and more people come to conventions. But also, one thing that was happening, I noticed, is that the celebrity stuff was going up and up and up, and like cosplaying was going up and up and up, and which I like all that stuff, but it was overtaking everything else. So it was like you go to a show, maybe not New York. Well, New York Comic Con's a little bit like that, but like up here, you would go to a show and it would be like, $50 to get in, let's just say, for a person. And then, say William Shatner was up there, you buy a photo with him and a signature. That's like another $100, another $20 to park for the day. And, and what was happening was people used to come in and they would buy prints and comics and everything, artwork from artists, but then all of a sudden it started shifting towards celebrities and all this other stuff. So we started seeing around 2012 our profits on, we were making our table back plus a few more bucks, and then all of a sudden we started losing money. Like we were barely either breaking even or and a lot of times started losing money. And I was like, what is going on? Like I just want to get back to shows that are focused on comics, artwork, creators, just stuff that we grew up with and loved in the 90s. And so I was like, geez, it got to the point where it was, like not worth it to do some of these bigger conventions because we were losing money like big time. And so I said to my wife, I was like, let me just go see if we could, how hard it would be to start a convention. You know what I mean? Like, because I had no idea where to start, but I was like, figured if you just rent a hall and grab some tables, like how hard could it be? So I started looking into it, and my day job, I do customer service, so I feel like that's a good asset to have if you're going to be a convention promoter. So I looked into that, and everything looked good. I rented first year. So what we did was we rented like a VFW hall, where they have like weddings and stuff, receptions, and it was 2 floors, and it had like you could probably fit I think we fit about 50 tables there between both floors. And I was like, yeah, this is great. And I went and I charged the artists and the vendors maybe like $45 for a table. And then because we got the hall at a reasonable rate for one day, I was like, let's just do free admission, and we'll set up, and we'll do our own table at the show. That's how we'll make money. And we went out, we advertised it. We, did Facebook, we did all of that, but we also went to every comic store, record store, anything in the area that had like, you could put stuff in, and we did that about 50-mile radius. And then we also put yard signs everywhere. We went a little nuts, but the day of the show was, oh my God, incredible. Like, at least 1,000 people came through there, and
that's fantastic for a first show.
For a first show was crazy. I mean, people that were vending there, like they vended more because they knew me rather than like thinking it was going to be a big show. But everybody walked away with making a ton of money that day, which was awesome.
That's great.
We actually had some good talent there. We had Chris Giarusso. My friend was able to get me Paul Cooperberg. He came down, and I also had Joe St. Pierre. So I had a bunch of like, mid-level guys, and it was incredible. And so after that, I was like, well, we need a bigger space, because this little place wasn't enough. So the following year, I found a hockey rink in the town that was next over to us, and they rented out without the ice on it during the summer. So I went and did that, and the rest is kind of history. We've been doing it every year since I think like 2016, except for the last 2 years with the pandemic. So we did it for about 4 years, and it's been good. The big hook of the show, and the thing I was trying to get back to was I wanted a show that was reasonably priced for people. So even now we only charge like $5 to get in, which I may have to go up to 10 next year because of everything's going up. But I'm trying to hold it at that level, trying to make it so people can come in and then have money to spend with the artists and the vendors and things like that. Me and my wife don't do it because we're going to make $1 million out of it. We do it because we love we love comics. So we love creators. I love talking to everybody. And so that's why we do it. It's almost like a big party for us, but also, we walk away maybe with a couple grand after everything's over, but it's almost like getting a good tax return, So we do it for the love, but
that's great. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. If you're ever, if you ever want to make the trip up here, and if you ever,
I'm happy to,
come on.
I'm happy to head up that way.
Yeah, I'd love to have you.
Yeah, because I gotta. Well, hopefully you'll have it next year, and by then I'll actually have a couple of books back out.
Yeah, that'd be great, man.
For those who don't know what I do a lot more of the cartoony humor stuff. This September, probably closer to the end, based on my schedule, I'm going to start releasing a webcomic called Dax Photon. It's a 60-page story, which will then be collected in a book with another 40 pages of story that won't be online.
Cool. So you get a little taste of it online first.
Well, basically, it's going to be the way it worked was that's the story. I have no plans after I finish Dax to do more Dax. He's just a story I really want to do. But when I hired my writer, there were some characters that I loved and characters that he loved that we couldn't explore more. Excuse me.
So you might do a spin-off kind of.
No,
right?
no. We want to tell the story. Like there's a character that I have in there that's kind of like a one of my blanking on the guy's name now. Joe Friday from Dragnet.
Okay.
So he's like an extra police officer off to the side, right?
Okay.
I love that character so much that I wanted to do a story, add him more. So I said, we're going to do a story that something happens in the Dax story that he can now go and investigate. And based on what he investigated, wraps up Dax's story permanently.
Gotcha.
And then there's another character, there's a team member on Dax's team that and I've shown his picture. He's an alien teddy bear. His name is Cuddles. He's a grumpy old teddy bear. Every time I draw him, I hear Ed Asner's voice in my head. So it's like...
That's great.
So there's some stuff I wanted to explain more about him, but couldn't in the comic. So we're going to tell a little bit more of his story. So
what's the basic premise of...
it's I'll call it parody or homage to sci-fi.
Okay.
All things sci-fi. Dax is a galactic hero who is doesn't realize he's that much. He's a hero only because of his teammates. He's a little conceited of a guy. And really the story
kind
is
of like
about,
Inspector Gadget a little bit. Where he was only good because of Penny.
Yeah, basically.
And Brain.
Basically. I mean, but he does have his skills. He's just not. He needs the help, and his arrogance gets the better of him, and it ends up really being a story about family and who are the important people in your life, but done in a humorous way, and that's really what Dax is. I just want to show. Don says, "Hope to do your show someday."
Oh, cool.
Definitely. Hold on. Let's see. Keith and Amy know how to do a show. They could teach a seminar on how to run that's awesome.
Thanks, buddy.
And Aura, I just want to say, because I posted this show, don't be apologized for the comments. I'm happy to have them. Any questions you guys have, feel free to ask. But no, I wanted to say about your con, I love the concept behind it, where it's really just comics and art, because that's the kind of cons I grew up doing. That was the kind of going to. That was the cons how the cons were when I started doing them. Like the biggest celebrity, I don't know, in New York here we had the Big Apple Comic Con.
I've been there a few times.
Yeah, I started when they were in the church basement up in Columbus Circle.
Yeah, I've heard of those shows. I've never been to when it was there.
And like the biggest celebrity they had was Lou Ferrigno, but he was local to New York. So it was like, so we didn't, I'm not saying he was not a big celebrity, but he was at those shows quite often because he was local to New York. But yeah, no, that was like the shows I started with, and that's what it was. We didn't really have big name celebrities. People weren't really cosplaying at the time.
Yeah.
It was you set up your table, you sell your books, you buy some really cool art.
And the funny thing is the cosplayers will still come. We just don't, we just don't make, we don't do the contests. We don't do any of that stuff. It's just a show. There's no panels. It's just, you come there, you walk around for an hour or two, and then, more people come in. It's that kind of show, And
that's great.
There's a place for it now. I mean, there's if you don't like our show and you want celebrities, there's one every other weekend somewhere nearby. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's almost like a niche show, like like a horror con or a sci-fi con now. It's just this is a pure comic con,
But I think we need to get back to those. That's just my personal opinion. I've done the big shows. I've done New York Comic Con. I've done some bigger shows, and the ones where there's tons and tons of celebrities, or and tons of big name artists. Honestly, it's a waste of my money to do the shows. It's people are going. When you do something like New York Comic Con, you got Artist Alley, and people going specifically for art are going to Artist Alley, or they're going to the celebrity sections for the celebrities. are they really walking small press? How many people really walk the small press section?
Yeah, the only reason we do well in New York, and I I've said this, it's the pure number of people. Like people find us by accident when there because there's so many people per inch of that place, and I think that's why we do well. Like I know Rob does okay there too, Geronimo. But it's the only way we can do it is if we do small press. But at that particular show, that's when my wife comes in with her stuff that she gets, high end money on. Like, she does she takes her big thing. I don't know if you've seen any of this on my Twitter or anything, but like she'll take My Little Ponies and then she sculpts over them into other things. So like she's taken like My Little Pony and sculpted into like the alien queen from like an alien xenomorph from Aliens,
Really?
Or, yeah,
that's cool. I have to go back and look at your.
I'll see if I can bring one up so you can take a look. They're absolutely incredible. So when she does those, I mean, they're fully painted, they're sculpted with clay and everything. So when we do that show, she'll put them up as an exclusive on the New York Comic Con site, and she can get like 500 a whack for those. And that's the only way I could do that show, to be honest with you, because my comics, they do sell there, but I couldn't, we'd always lose money every year if it was just my comics, It's just a sad reality, but I do like being at that show, even though the chances of losing money is, pretty high. But what was I going to say? But yeah, I agree with you though. When I'm not doing like a mega show like New York, I tend to do just one day shows. Like, see, I found like one of her. Let me show you this. It's hang on, let me get. Actually, you might like this one too because you said you're a Disney fan.
I'm a huge Disney geek.
So she did. So this is like she did a My Little Pony of Ursula, and
I love that. and
Ariel.
Ursula is my favorite villain.
Oh, is it really? That's great.
Yeah, I love Ursula.
So there's some different angles, but she takes. See, this is all painted and done with clay, and then there's Ariel.
That's great.
So she's really talented with this stuff, and then the alien one is over here. I think there's the alien.
Nice.
She actually made the base too with the eggs and everything.
Wow.
Which is, and she's made some more elaborate aliens, but this is just like one of her newest ones.
That's gorgeous.
It's really, isn't it neat? And she does like I don't know what you call that stuff to give it that kind of chrome look, But yeah, she's really talented with this stuff, and so it's always good to have her at shows for that very reason, And she's very supportive with my comic stuff, so it's it's really cool to have her in my corner, But I agree with you. What I was going to say is I agree with you in the fact that I tend to look for nowadays when I do a show, I look for like the library cons. The 1 day shows. I love the 1 day shows. I'm even going to try next weekend. I'm doing like an art festival up in Lowell, which is a fairly big city about 30 minutes north of us. And things like that. I do. And I a lot of this year I'm trying like a couple of new shows, first years, see how they go. But yeah, that's my bread and butter. Those 1 day shows that are still kind of comic focused without celebrities and things like that.
I actually love library cons. I
do great. Yeah,
I do well at those for two reasons. One, until I start publishing DAX again, my work has been cartoon education. So I'm always selling either cartoon education, or I'm getting like school visits, or the library brings me in to do stuff. So I'm making money outside after those shows. But it's like if I wasn't there, that money would not be coming into me, So But I also do these things I call cartoonatures. So what they are is, instead of caricatures, which I don't do well. I draw people as what they would look like as cartoon characters. So I ask them, do you want to look like an animated character or a comic strip? And they'll tell me, animated. I'm like, okay. And I'll just draw like an animated style, kind of look like Hanna-Barbera, Looney Tunes, kind of. Nice. I don't want to ask for specific shows unless they tell me. But what's your favorite type of genre? So I'll be like, oh, well, they're into fantasy, so all of a sudden I draw them as a wizard or whatever. And
right. That's
so I do those. So kids love that type of stuff at the library shows. So
yeah. And do you get a table usually when you do that?
Yeah, I usually do a table.
Nice.
A lot of shows these days, because of my educational stuff, I don't pay for many tables anymore. Well, I haven't paid in years, actually, because what I do is I either run the kids section with a friend and we provide educational material, or I trade a table for a panel or a workshop or something to do. So I end up doing that, and I still bring educational content to people, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, cons love that stuff.
And I enjoy doing it. I mean, I don't like leaving my table at shows.
Yeah, but when you have to do that,
it's fun to talk with people and just share.
Well, and you can always can always, when you're done, come visit me at my table, and you get people to come over. There's a husband and wife up here that run a show called Kids Comic Con.
Yes.
Do you know Emily?
Yeah, I know. Actually, Emily's been on the show before here.
Oh, has she really? Oh, okay. Yeah. She's such a nice girl.
Yes.
She's awesome, and she's done. She'll come to my show. Mm-hmm. We had her a couple times, where she'll do a whole kids workshop, and she schedules out the entire day, and it's pretty awesome. And
that's exactly what we do.
That's what you do too. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
I mean, if we're running a section, we'll be like, okay, the show's from 10 to 6, let's say.
Yeah.
From 11 to 5 p.m., you will have material. So we give that hour to set up or get people into the show. And then at the end of the hour, the last hour of the show is us to break down the kids section if we need to, whatever.
Gotcha.
So and what we tend to do is we'll bring the artist. So say we'll ask for let's say 4 artists, right? We need 4 tables for artists and maybe 3 tables or whatever you think for workshops. So we'll set up the 4 tables. And our artists, we don't charge our artists to come. We just say, I mean, if they get a hotel or travel, that's all on them. But we won't charge them the table at the show because you guys are providing for us, so we're not going to take it from them.
Gotcha.
And we say, you get to set up, but you got to give us a workshop for an hour or 45 minutes. Really, we do 45 minutes, so there's cleanup time.
Yeah.
And we say, you got to give us a 45-minute workshop. What do you want to do? Do you have a suggestion or do you care? And like I've done things from basic cartooning skills to sequential art, understanding how sequential art works for kids, a little animation. I do a thing called drawing genres, and we talk about, oh, well, we're going to draw sci-fi, so what does that mean? And some people start throwing Star Wars stuff or Star Trek, and it's like, okay, well, phasers and spaceships and robots and things, so and we draw a scene. Or then they'll be like, I want to do, I don't know, like mystery, like Scooby-Doo type of stuff, and I'll tend to ask, what does a mystery look like and where are they located? So we're drawing genres, and kids are learning about how to create a scene.
Oh, that's cool.
About
it's all stuff you don't think of, which is great. Yeah, that's awesome.
I do a lot of different types of things, and that's what the shows bring me for. Then when I do panels, it's usually more either do like educational, like talking to educators, librarians, teachers, things like that, and how to bring comics into the classroom, or I do something either I'm demonstrating something, or I am just kind of talking about the industry in general and how to create comics with on a budget, for like kids. How can they get started without having to spend so much money?
Yeah, that's the problem, right? With creating comics, unless you're like a one man show, which some people are, but like that's usually not the case in 98% of the time.
I mean, I basically am, but I am in the talks with a few people to take over certain responsibilities because number one, I know Dax won't get out if it's all me constantly. Number two, I want to do other stories and things that I can't say I need to spend a year on this, a year on this, a year on this. If I get help, it's maybe 3 to 6 months on one project, and I can knock off more a year. So
yeah, and with me, it's knowing your strengths. So like I know where like I can look at my drawings critically and I can say like I know I can't draw like a Superman looking guy. Like I'm very bad with anatomy and that kind of thing. So, but I could draw a cartoon frog. So it's like. It's knowing your strength, I guess. Like I know, like when I did Mighty Mascots, I knew I wasn't going to do the art. I knew I was going to hire that out. I think a lot of times is having that conversation with yourself too. And figuring that those things out, ahead of time or whatever. But I was going to ask you about to get back to your seminars and stuff. Did you ever talk to Emily about doing something with her show? Or
no, we never got into that.
I know it's a little bit of a hike for you because you're in New York.
No, I would
right?
go up. I mean, I'm in New York, but it's about where is it? New Hampshire, I think, or Vermont?
Well, she's got one. I don't know if it's going to get canceled because of COVID, but she has one planned for November up in Maine.
Oh, it's in Maine. Well, Maine.
And then she's doing another one next spring in New Hampshire, though.
New Hampshire's about maybe about a 4 or 5 hour drive from me.
You're in New York?
Yeah, New York, but I'm close to the city. I'm 15 minutes from New York City.
So it'd probably be about. I was going to say about 4 or 5 hours. Yeah,
I think Maine is like
very
7.
north New Hampshire. So it's not in like the, you know what I mean? So you have to travel through most of the state to get to where she's doing the show.
Because I know I've done Boston, like gone up to Boston a few times. It's supposed to be a 3 hour drive from me, but traffic always makes it like a 4.5 to 5 hour.
Yeah, it's never good once you get close to the city, either way in New York or Boston, But I don't know. If you ever want to come up and come to Plastic City, let me know.
Oh, I'd be happy
to. I would love to have you there. I'd even float you a table.
I would appreciate that. Once I have product again, I'm happy to start doing. That's when the pandemic happened, that's where I'm like, okay, I'm starting. Then I ended up getting sick with COVID. I lost.
Oh, you had COVID? Oh,
yeah.
That sucks. Were you affected bad, or was it just?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't. I was in the hospital for 5 days, but I literally couldn't get off my couch for like 2 weeks. I was sleeping.
Yeah, I had a coworker that got it, and she said it's like the worst. It's like you sleep all day and you're still tired. She said it's just miserable.
Yeah,
so.
It was for me. It was sleeping and a very bad upset stomach that I was constantly running to the bathroom. I ended up getting dehydrated, and I was in the hospital for 5 days. But luckily, there was, they were able to take care of me with IVs and medicine. Never needed to be ventilated. Never.
Oh, good.
Respirator. None of that stuff. I was perfectly fine.
Do you have any of the after effects, or were you?
To be honest, well, okay, not to get into all this medical stuff,
the health stuff, right?
For those who know the show, know I've had 2 kidney transplants. I had my second one in 2011. I had a bad recovery, and I ended up with type 2 diabetes.
Oh,
so I had a problem controlling my diabetes after COVID, and I think it was because they put me up on so many IVs and such high dosages of steroids and stuff. I think that just affected it and made it worse. That I was able to control it originally on medicine and diet and exercise, and now, even though I still work on my diet and exercise when I can and all this stuff, I'm now on insulin at night, like a slow release thing every night. So I think that's a leftover side effect, and occasionally I still have a slight cough. I think I feel it comes from it, but that little,
is some
that little dry cough that they say you get. I just feel it hasn't gone away 100%, but we're going back April 2020. You know, I mean that I had this, so it's been around for a while. And I've talked to my dad. They said there's nothing wrong. You know, lungs are clear. It's
just like that after, huh?
Yeah. So.
Huh. Yeah. That stinks. What were we talking about before?
Yeah, no, but anyway, getting to that, what it did was it slowed me down.
Okay.
In my work, where I was in production, I had production for 3 projects to be done by the end of 2020. I only got a children's book completed because it took a lot out of me, recovery and all that stuff, just because of my health issues, that I felt I wasn't fully recovered probably until even to the beginning of 2021, just physically. Now that I feel like back to normal, I'm working, but day job, my freelance, all the paying gigs have to come first before I work out my stuff. So
I hear that. So.
That's what is
Did you find that when you weren't sick, did you find that you were more productive in COVID times?
Yes, especially when the day job went to
working
remote.
from home. Yeah,
because like I could just headset on, do what I need to do, and I can literally draw while I work.
Yeah, same. I went from not wanting to work from home because I always found it to be distracting to not wanting to go back into the office now. So like what we're doing, like hybrid thing where it's like you're in 2 days a week and you can work from home, and that's fine. So I'm fine with that, but yeah, I get you. I hear you.
Yeah, I'm actually looking for more remote work now because I've enjoyed working from. I used to before, like in the mid to late '90s when I was in the when I was in the art industry in general. The comics were a side thing for me. I was doing a lot of work from home. I was a freelance artist, so I'd go in if they needed me in, and then I would go. What hurt my business was 9/11. That's
really.
Artists last be hired, first be fired. So if you don't need promotion, you don't need that hurt my business. And at the time, I was dating this girl. I ended up moving, out to Long Island and I lost all my local clients. And when we broke up and I moved back, they already had new people. Yeah, so all this stuff started happening. But I was working and I was slowly built up freelance, and then I got sick and had to have my second transplant. And so it was a process. I'm always kind of like, I'm doing well, doing good, building up. Something happens.
It's like an ebb and flow.
Yeah. And so now I'm in the process. I'm getting actually a lot more freelance work right now.
Good.
But I still need a day job at the moment. I'm hoping to change that. That is just freelance. And I don't mind going in places. I'll go places. I don't care. But I enjoy the freedom of freelance at home. It was how I started in the industry, and it's kind of how I like I like to work.
I can feel that because I want to do the same. I want to maybe not completely give up the day job, but I want to put more time into this. I'd rather do conventions all week, every weekend if I could, even if it's a crappy show. I'd love to just make that a job.
Yeah. No, it's fun. Look, I mean, there were times I was away 30, 40 weekends a year, and it takes a lot out of you. You gotta
have that endurance.
and I don't know if I have that anymore.
Well, I think if I didn't have to go to a day job after, and you get that 1 or 2 days to recover from the convention, I think I'd be fine. But they are a lot of work. I mean, I don't think people realize that when you're at a show. It is, you're standing on your feet all day, talking to people all day, and by the end of the day, like I need like 10,000 throat lozenges, and
I bring that stuff with me to shows all the time.
I do too.
I bring stuff, and what I want to start bringing, because I get tired of standing too. I want to bring like a cushion mat or something.
Yep. We have those called the fatigue pads.
I just want to, since you were talking about customer service, all right?
Yep.
I want to tell you guys, this is the best book I ever read on customer service.
Okay.
Be Our Guest. It's Disney's, it's the Perfecting the Art of Customer Service.
Interesting.
All right. So you really want to learn how to like interact with guests and make sales and do all that stuff. right
book.
in here.
All right.
They, I mean, not everything applies to conventions, but it's
got a basic philosophy there.
Yeah,
I mean, I find that if even just a basic advice for a convention, don't be on your phone. Be up.
Yeah.
Someone stops at the table, welcome them.
Yeah.
I mean, and if they're interested in hearing your pitch, let them have it. And then I just start talking to people, and then if they want to look at the comic, and then so this is my comic, and I do go into the whole thing, and then they either want to buy it or they don't, and then that's fine. I'll sit there and talk to them about movies for an hour or whatever.
Yeah.
That's the way I do
it.
I
will say this. I before I even read that book, I used to work in high school in the Disney store, so I had some Disney customer service training, and one of the things they tell you is don't try to sell. And I've actually used this with people. It's sorry, my cat just walked in. It's like if it's let's say they were looking at collectibles in the store, you don't go up and say, oh, are you looking for whatever. You have to look them up and down. If they're wearing like a Mickey Mouse shirt, let's say, oh, is Mickey Mouse your favorite character? Or are you looking for a birthday gift? And you do things like that. And when you actually talk to them and ask them questions, instead of just saying, hey, you want to come out and check out my book, you tend to get them more in. With stuff like that.
I agree with that, and that's sort of what I do, and which I guess I was doing that in a subconscious way. I was, I just I think the product speaks for itself, so it's like all I can do is just be nice to you. So if you want to come over and have a conversation, let's talk about anything, And I find 9 out of I don't want to say 9 out of 10, maybe 5 out of 10 times, you just give somebody 5 minutes of your time and just talk about whatever, and then you get the I'm still looking around, or maybe I'll come back. You get that a lot, right?
Yeah.
But I'd say 5 out of 10 times, if you're nice to the person, they will come back. And I'm always appreciative of that. I always, anybody that will give me their hard-earned money for my book, I find humbling, so I love that, and I love hearing from people when they buy it at a convention and I see them a year later and they come back for the next issue, and I love hearing what they thought of it, and that's always like great, gives you a little boost to your day, so it's always good stuff, so little convention advice for any creator out there,
I think I'm going to wrap up unless there's anything you want to mention that we didn't talk about.
No, I think we kind of touched on all the major things. I mean, we could sit here and talk forever about whatever,
I'm sure we can. So I'm going to tell you this right now. When you get your next Kickstarter, Indiegogo, whatever you're doing, I'd love to have you back on.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Or even if maybe a couple months before Plastic City come on and push that too, and
let's talk about that. I'm happy.
Be great.
Happy to chat about anything. This was a lot of fun for me tonight.
Yeah, same here, Mike. I'm glad we finally. I mean, I know, like we said, we've been on streams together before, like on Don Chin's channel, and but it's hard to talk one-on-one when there's like 8 people in the stream, So I'm glad we finally got to get together one-on-one. Same with you. If you ever when you got a book and you got something ready to go, give me a holler. Come on Indie Comics Relay with me and Johnny.
Absolutely.
C. And we
Johnny C's your co-host.
Yeah, do you know Johnny C?
Yeah, I know Johnny.
Yeah, Johnny C's my co-host, and
cool.
We have a creator on and we highlight them for an hour, much like this,
Yeah.
So definitely come on sometime.
Cool.
That's cool. I didn't know you knew Johnny. I'll have to.
I know. There's so many people that are like it's a small club in this.
It is. It is. Yeah, it really is. When you break it down, it's like I'm surprised we haven't met before this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
I gotta say though, I don't know if I've ever met him or if I've done streams, or I gotta remember.
He's a big he does a lot of the after parties and the after con networks. Maybe you met him
Maybe something through there, yeah.
Does In Beyond Con, maybe, because I know.
Yeah, I'm gonna be actually on In Beyond Con.
Are you doing that one? Okay.
Saturday.
Are you doing a virtual, right?
Yeah, it's virtual, but I'm doing a demo on how to animate in Photoshop.
Oh, cool.
So I think it's a full hour demo on how to animate. So.
Me and Johnny were gonna do something for that, but then he ended up. I think he's doing a convention that weekend, so we were just like, oh, maybe
there's a
next
couple
year.
going on. Like,
and when we looked at the schedule, it looked like Sebastian had a huge schedule already for both Saturday and Sunday. So we're like, maybe next year we'll grab on, get something going. But it's a lot. There's a lot of content. Let's just say,
Yeah, definitely.
So.
All right, I'm gonna drop you backstage. You mind hanging out a minute?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, cool. All right, I will. Thanks again for coming on. I'll do my wrap up, and I'll see you in a few.
All right. Good night, everybody.
All right, so that was actually a really, really fun show for me. Like I said, I've been wanting to talk to Keith for a while. I'm sure we could have gone on just BSing about so many things. It really, I feel towards the end, that's all we were doing anyway. And it was a lot of fun. But if you haven't noticed throughout the stream today, his Twitter account, Reckless Gleason, and his website, which is, let us scroll back again. What is it? Oh, recklesssidekick.com. Go check them out. It's got some great stuff on there. And I'm sure he'll be back. So you guys, thank you for tuning in. It was a lot of fun. And I'll be back next week with another guest. All right. You guys have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you soon. Bye.